Yes, friends, I wish you all a good day. First of all, we reached 3,000 subscribers in a short time. For this, I want to thank all of you very much. And without further ado, I want to get into my Nasdaq analysis. Now, it would be more accurate to put it this way. 26,235 is our peak level in Nasdaq. And currently, the lowest level it hit this week is 24,158. Look, there's a bit of math involved here. Let's calculate it right away. I'm taking out my calculator as well. Now, let us take the number 26,235 and add it together with 24,158. When we perform this mathematical calculation, I would say that the final sum equals the following result. So, on average, 26,235 plus 24,158. That comes to 50,420, all right? And the average of this, meaning the peak plus the dip divided by 2. When we do that, it comes out to around 25,210. So we're going to say it's about here. On the Nasdaq, we'll say it's around 25,219. Now here, we're taking the average. This is already clearly turning towards a bear market. But it also got a nice reaction from the bottom. These reactions are very normal, as you know. These are things we constantly see in the indexes, but for now, our direction still appears to be a sell position. And when it gets a reaction in the sell position, on average, it closed around 25,020 on Friday. But those who listened to our previous video already know this. We had already calculated our expectation according to the Bollinger Band. We had said that there could be downward movements, but we also mentioned that the place where it would end the week would be around here, give or take. Now, it would be significantly more precise and accurate to consider this as a necessary corrective phase following our recent downward trend. So, what kind of price action might we expect to see it perform throughout next week? That's what I want to talk about. Me. When I clear my screen like this, okay? The correction of our bottom after the decline is roughly between 219 and 282. In other words, it corresponds to around 25,219 to 25,282. On Monday, it's likely that we'll see a picture like this. Let me quickly explain the logic behind it as well, because as you know, in indices, it's not possible to always sell or always buy. There are declines. There are corrections, there are rises, and even the rises have their own corrections. That's how it goes. So to put it quite simply and briefly, right now we are anticipating that we will see something very much like this, but please keep in mind that is just based on the specific circumstances of the current context. If something different happens economically tomorrow, then we'll be talking about something else. But for now, I want to talk about my own expectations. 25,282 to 25,219. These are numbers I can accept. So we could see a rise up to this point on Monday. This is normal. But let me put it this way. If I mean above this level, that is above 25,698, to be perfectly honest, I do not really expect a close above that level. I'm saying this based on technical indicators so that there won't be any misunderstanding later. If we do get a close above this level, then we'll be talking about a completely different scenario. For now, what we're expecting is a sell position from above. Let me clear the screen so we can see it more clearly, just to show it roughly. So we're expecting a scenario with movements like this, up and down like this. This is the scenario we're anticipating. In other words, we're saying this assuming that it won't be able to close above 25,598. So on average, we're looking at 282, and around 600, our expectation is for a downward sell. For example, this week they might sell, and sell HIB, then buy it back on a reaction and push it up. While this is quite normal, for example, looking ahead to Thursday or Friday, it is highly likely that the total count will stay well below 25,600 units in total. These areas are our sell zones. Now, I'm explaining this as a scenario so we can better understand the logic behind it. In other words, there are a lot of fake outs here. You could get stopped out for no reason at all. That's why, if you understand the logic, your chances of getting stopped out will decrease. And you can actually make serious money here, right here. For example, on Sunday night or Monday morning, right when the market opens, we don't enter any trades anyway. Our trade entry strategy is a bit different. We buy when we think the market is cheap, or we sell when we think it's very expensive. We set our strategy accordingly so that we can maximize our profit. And so we can exit with a minimum stop loss. If we're going to exit with a stop loss, is this an absolute must for us? Well, it's actually a must in Forex anyway. I mean, you simply can't just jump into any currency pair, index, stock market, or commodity blindly without first performing an analysis. In other words, you need to have a daily strategy. Right now, this is my strategy at this point. I think on average, selling will start around 25,600 or 420 at our points. In my expectation, we could see around 23,700 or 23,600 on average. I'm speaking in terms of technical indicators. Now, again, it's necessary to make an assessment on Friday at the end of the week. Currently, the technical indicators suggest that we'll see the 23,000s, but tomorrow, different economic events could occur. In that case, of course, it would be beneficial for us to talk about different things. Now, I think we've understood our buy point. I want to say a few things about selling. Now, there is a very high probability that it will already exceed the previous levels with a significant gap starting late Sunday evening and continuing into early Monday morning. But if we need to discuss our most suitable buy point this time, I am specifically recommending this strategy for the Monday session. In the coming days, when it's Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, we'll be talking about different things. This is also the most suitable time for that. For buy for Monday, now we had said that we would be talking about different things for Tuesday and Wednesday. Now around 24,620 or daily around 467, a buy can be attempted. In other words, you can make money from the buy possibility here. But I think this is the absolutely fundamental and essential point. So again, the chance of seeing these regions next week is extremely high and quite probable, meaning the chance of successfully executing a strategic exit from this specific price area again is very high. And I mean, for me, the most ideal take profit point would be around 24,272 to 232. Let me remind you of that. But there's a situation. If it comes here, if it comes to this region and makes a daily close, if in the specific candles we are watching, it makes a full daily candle close below these levels, then it will be extremely challenging and highly unlikely for it to get a significant reaction this time. And we could very well see further sustained downward movements in the Nasdaq once again. I am sharing with you the most logical and probable scenario I currently have in mind. I truly hope that we all have very successful and profitable trading days together. Let's experience them. I would be very happy if you follow and like. See you next time.